We're going to give it a minute to make sure that all the streams do all the stream things, and the place it goes from is the place it goes to, all that kind of stuff. As soon as we get the thumbs up that all of the things are streaming where they are supposed to stream, we will begin. Until then, I can tell you something about spring. Like, it is spring here, and it is beautiful. The lakes all have water in them. The weather outside is phenomenal today. My chickens are laying eggs again. Yeah, I have chickens. I love chickens. I've had chickens for a long time now. Many times, on and off. It's really fun. You get fresh eggs every day. Well, every day in the summer. Most days in the winter. It's a lot good. All right. We might have a production issue. Says streaming. They all say they're streaming. Yeah.
I'm not seeing LinkedIn.
Oh, but the others are going? LinkedIn always has a slightly longer delay, I've heard. Well, we'll just go with it. They're recording it. If it doesn't actually stream anywhere, we're so sorry. But if it does, welcome. So we'll go ahead and start. This is PAMcast for April 15th, 2025. This is the monthly update on what has changed in TechIDManager, what is new, what's coming, all those kind of things. We always have an agenda. Our agenda is this today. We'll talk about what we have been up to, some of the new features, and what the next things coming in TechIDManager are. New features released in the last month, and what the next things coming are. What have we been up to? Like I was saying in the preamble, we're just rambling on. It is spring in the US, and it is gorgeous and beautiful here. It's been between 70 and 80 degrees here in upstate South Carolina. I have loved it. We've been hiking a bunch. We haven't been camping yet this year, but it's been really nice. It's also April 15th, and that means it's tax day for those of you in the US, unless you file an extension or you're in one of those unfortunate states affected by Helene. I believe there are 7 states that got an automatic extension till the 1st of May for taxes because Helene was horrific and terrible in this area. If you know anybody that you'd like to donate money for Helene, there's several good causes. I believe that Upstate Channel Collab had a place that you could donate. We did. It was great. So that's kind of the life things we've been up to. What else have we been up to? We've been doing a lot of documentation work. We are changing lots of things in documentation. What started as a documentation effort became these things don't quite have the right name effort. It has become a whole kind of holistic change for the way we identify what pieces of the product are. So we'll talk about that in the new features. You can see it right over there under renaming stuff. But in addition to that, all that started with some documentation work, which is clean up the documentation, make it easier to follow, easier to find things that you're looking for. As the product has grown, as TechIDManager has grown over the last 5 years, we now do a significant amount more than we used to. And some of the names of the pieces where features went don't really apply anymore. So we are correcting all of that. We're paying off some technical debt, is the businessy startup kind of term for it. We took on technical debt to get something out the door to make it work, and now we're paying that off from a naming perspective and a few other ways. All right. Speaking of business stuff, autopay on QuickBooks. We have switched almost completely from authorize.net to QuickBooks for billing and invoice collection, things like that. Autopay is super easy to set up on QuickBooks, gives you in full control. It does require an account with QuickBooks for you to set that up. If your accountant has an account with QuickBooks, they can chat directly with our accountant and solve those accountant things that accountants need to talk about. I'm not an accountant, so I don't know. But I'm told that there are accountant questions that our accountant can answer that you don't have to go through support for, and they can do that fully inside of their environment of QuickBooks. Pretty cool. Never tried it, never used it. Accountant tells me it's there, so I'm telling you all it's there. Not so that you can use it, so that you can tell your accountants that it's there and how to set up. They have to make an account, or you have to make an account. All right? Those kind of really last business things to talk about, and that's just an ongoing change. As credit cards expire, we're rolling them over to QuickBooks for payments, so you might have to reset it up. We did set up an authorize. It's now in QuickBooks, which is worked out really well. everybody seems to be enjoying it. If you have any questions or any problems with it, just let us know. All right. That's kind of what we've been up to. Oh, I didn't introduce myself. Oh my God. We've been so busy. So much documentation work. I forgot to introduce who I am. I'm 𝗬𝗁𝗿𝗏, founder and CTO of TechIDManager. The company is Ruffian Software. The product is TechIDManager, and under the umbrella of TechIDManager, there's a lot of privileged account management that is specific to managed service providers. This PAMcast is targeted at existing partners, people who know what TechIDManager is, so we're not going to cover any of the demo reel. I'm not going to slip into, oh, this is what TechIDManager does. Save that for a demo. If you don't know what it does, there's demo buttons all over the place. Schedule demo, and we'll talk about it, and I'll show you what it does. But let's talk about some of the new features that have come out in the last month, what I love to term the boring technical stuff. So, like I mentioned with the documentation work earlier, I was talking about, we are renaming stuff in TechIDManager for TechIDManager 6.0. There was the management console, there was a central host, there was a domain service, there was the tech client, there was techclient.mac, there was techclient.mobile. And some of the domain service worked on more than just domains. There was the TechIDManager Entra ID. There was the Windows credential provider TechIDManager. There was a lot of variance in the naming. So we're going through and renaming everything. TechID something. They're going to be TechID clients, which are the pieces that technicians use, the client the technician uses to get the information from the system. They're going to be TechID agents, which run where accounts are created and maintained. And there's the TechID portal and TechID host. The portal is where the managers go on the web page where managers go to determine who has what access where. And the host is that piece for our self-hosted clients that they run where their data is stored, and they're in complete control of that. So we are renaming the management console to TechID portal. We're renaming the central host to TechID host. Renaming TechID tech client to TechID client.windows, TechID client.mobile, TechID client.macOS, TechID client.iOS, and TechID client.android, based on the platform where that particular client runs and technicians can use it. Related to the TechID client, Windows, Mac interaction with the TechID client, Android, and iOS, we changed that barcode setup for the mobile clients. So now there's one barcode you scan, it encrypts and sends that information. Very similar but different. It's a much simpler process. We've streamlined that as part of our documentation work to make things easier, to lower the friction of using TechIDManager. The TechID agents, what used to be the domain service, is now TechIDagent.windows. That will be released this week. There will be additional, TechIDManager to Entra ID was the Azure agent, which changed functions significantly in the past couple months. We went from the multiple subscription thing to the single subscription. That will now be called TechIDagent.Entra ID. It will maintain the base link methodology so that you only requires one subscription. All the documentation is updating to reflect all these name changes. So the documentation is going to roll out over the course of next week. So all the products will roll out over the course of the next week. With the 6.0 version of that product, it'll have the new name. Don't worry. Everything is still backward compatible. You can still run a domain service connected to a TechID portal or TechID host 6.0 or newer. Very little of the REST API in the backend has changed. We've added some more secure features for some of the newer features we're adding. A lot of the portal features are only available in the newer agents. That's kind of where that's going. So in TechID portal, which used to be management console, I'll say that for this time, but next time we'll probably fully have transitioned to the new terminology with portal instead of management console. In the TechID portal, we've added agent option settings. So all the TechID agents, their options, the domain service options used to be set from the command line on the machine. With version 6, TechIDagent.windows will have those options settable either from the command line or from TechID portal. You'll be able to set them up with places. This mirrors some changes in who has access to change what. Managers will be able to go set stuff up, and technicians will also be able to change them. There's a full logging of everything that goes on, where it was set from, who set it, all that kind of stuff. That's a pretty interesting change. This means that you can make changes to the way that the agent runs on the machines without connecting to that machine. This used to not be possible. We used to take the model of a much more distributed model. So this is a change on a more esoteric statement. This is a change from a purely distributed model to a mixed hybrid distributed centralized model for control and authentication. That's really more highbrow than it sounds like. Sounds more highbrow than it actually is. Just means a few things are changing. Also in the portal, there are some tech-specific options that used to be client-wide. I should show these. I was intending to show these and got sidetracked with it. So if we look at the management console, and I'll log in. If you go to an agent, you will see, like if we look at an Azure agent like this one, these agent options you can change here. Like what hour to run, you can change it to 6, and you can save that option. If you want it to be a just-in-time account, you can change the accounts from managed to just-in-time. You can do any change that you can do to the agent options that could be done from the command line or from the old style with the Azure functions. In the environment variables and the Azure functions, you can now do those directly from the management console. Similarly, the techs, if we looked at client options, we had these TechID client options, whether you showed the user password tab, whether you showed the vault password tab. I'll just read through them. Whether you showed, whether you allowed, forced, or suggested MFA, whether you allowed people to export the keys, whether you showed the mobile tab, the idle time lock, whether you allowed one-time password sharing, and whether you allowed offline access. This is a new one we're adding. Those were all client-wide options, set the same for everybody. You can still do that, set them the same for everybody. And if you would like to, for a specific technician, let's look at this one, my second account here. You can leave them unset, specific to each technician, which means that it will use the value that's client-wide, or you can set it specifically for that technician. So if you want to only show the password vault to a few technicians, or you only want to show the password vault, the user password tab, to a select set of people who you want to have some of their information stored in there, but other people you want to use a different one, you can set it up so that some can see it, some can't. If you want to set idle time specific to groups of people, like you have help desk people who should have idle times defined one way, and engineers that are in the field should have idle times defined some other way, you can do that. If you only want to allow a certain set of people to do the one-time password sharing, you can do that. This is really to flush out who can do what. Yep. So those are now available and obeyed by both past tech clients and the new TechID client.windows that's coming out. So TechID client.windows 6.0 is pre-release right now. Its major visible difference is there's now a ribbon of icons up here, which can be used to do all the things that were just in the right-click menus before. So if you would like to show a credential, you can click the Show Details. Force a password rotation is right up there. Show the account history is up there. So like you want to show, you can show the details for an account. And this is our an older version of our word-based passwords. If you would like to force a password rotation, you can do that. You can just click this button to force a password rotation. Then that password is going to rotate sometime in the next 60 seconds. If you want to show an account history, you can click on this button to see the account history. These are, again, the 5-word passwords with the 4 random characters, 2 symbols, 2 numbers at the end to meet any needed AD password requirements. We have the copy of the tech client link, so that this is the documentation link that will let you click on that link and take you to this specific credential or the technician's version of the specific credential. This is for integration of Hoodoo and IT Glue and other documentation packages. We have one-time sharing. So if you want to share this password one time with someone, you can click this. We covered all of these in the last PAMcast. So if you want to see more detail on those, go look at those. On our website, there are also blog articles about all of these. If you'd like to edit the OTP secret for this particular account, that is also up here. There used to be a series of checkboxes over here that You could show and hide different types of accounts where you now have these grayable icons. So if you want to only see Azure accounts, you can turn off showing the domain and local accounts. You can show the domain and Azure accounts. If you only want to see the shared accounts, you can do that also. Whatever you want to filter and see, these icons will help you filter and see that. There are ribbons similarly on every different tab that do the things appropriate to that tab. That's available pre-release, so ruffiansoftware.com/pre-release will get you to the pre-release screen. We have, related to the changing of names, we have changed the way our release page looks. Our release page is now in 3 columns. We have the clients available on the left over here. We have the agents available in the middle, and we have the host and the host log changes on the far right. This list of agents is going to grow very soon. Right now we have a Windows agent and an Azure agent. The Windows one runs on domains and local machines. We're going to add a Linux agent, Mac agent, and a generalized agent here real soon. And that brings us through all the things, all the boring technical things that we've released this month. Next month, we have a secret, in quotes, secret agent. This one's kind of exciting to me. We will cover this in more detail when it's released next month. This agent will be the basis for a lot of interesting things that you'll be empowered to do with TechIDManager from going forward based on that secret agent. TechID agent, not Windows. Oh, yes. When this pre-release, the TechID agent.windows has more options. Those options are settable from the portal. We talked about that, kind of off track. And there are more TechIDManager 6.0 features coming. TechIDManager 6.0 is a collection of features that we have kind of, not arbitrarily, but kind of like bundled together, and we decided to call this 6.0. The main reason we're calling it 6.0 is the name changing and the addition of new features. We rolled out several of these as pre-release, and several of these in low high 5 version numbers, like 5.5.5.5 and 5.5.7.2, had some of the 6.0 features in them, specifically the one-time password sharing, the forced password rotation, and a few others. Those are all 6.0 features. They're now in 6.0. They're fully supported as they come out in the supported versions. I think that is everything I had to talk about. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are. If you have any questions or anything that you want to know more about, you can always email support@techidmanager.com, or you can put it in the doobly-doos down below. You can also search our webpage. Our webpage, like we said, documentation is under construction, being worked on, whatever words you want to put with that. The documentation is getting better. All the name changes are part of that, some visual look about it, and some more better organization about how to get to what and find what. All right. So next time you check out the documentation from the install guide or from the how-to articles, you'll see some new looks and feels and some better information there. We are, like I always want to say at the end of PAMcast, we're here to help. You can always book support time if you have any questions about TechIDManager, and we look forward to continuing to serve all our partners and see you in a month at PAMcast in May, which might be delayed a month. I'm not sure what my travel, there's some travel going on in May that might delay that, it might not. We'll see. All right. So have a great day and enjoy spring. Bye.